So the first one here is the fixed cost. So ano ba yung tinatawag natin na fixed cost? So fixed costs are expenses that do not change. Okay, so do not change when the level of activity changes within a certain range. So from the name itself naman, fixed. Ayun, hindi pala po ako Ayan, so from the name itself naman, as the, may internet. Naririnig nyo ba ako? Dinig naman po.
Yes po, ma'am.
Yes po,
Ayan.
ma'am,
Kasi
narinig
meron
naman.
kami internet, ikaw wala kang internet. Okay. So, fixed cost nga. So, from the name itself, fixed. So, again, do not change. Ano po, when the level of activity changes within a certain range. Okay, so regardless kung ang production ay nag-i-increase or nagdi-decrease, so hindi maaapektuhan yung cost natin. Ano po, so do not change. Okay? So for example, yun nga, kagaya nga nasabi na ma'am, regardless kung tumaas or bumaba, humina yung production, ay yun pa din yung cost natin. So, kumbaga nga, kung ang isang factory nagpo-produce siya ng 100 upuan, nagpo-produce siya ng 1,000 upuan, so yung mga insurance natin, property taxes, sahod ng mga empleyado, usually it stays the same. Ano po, so hindi siya nagbabago kasi yung insurance, property tax, salary, license fees, interest on loans, so those are examples kasi of fixed cost. Ano po, so kumbaga, yung taxes, yung buwis na babayaran for the facility is the same regardless kung gaano ka-busy yung production or operation ni facility. Yung mga empleyado sa pasasahodin niya kahit pa bumaba yung production ni company. License fees, they are being paid yearly regardless of the usage ng mga lisensya. And then, yung interest on loans, they are fixed payments set by the bank. So, hindi siya nababago regardless kung humina o lumakas yung production natin. Okay? But note that yung fixed costs, they are not permanent forever. Even though they are the costs that do not change, hindi naman siya permanent forever. Okay? So, sabi nga natin kanina, kumbaga, they are stable only within a certain normal operating range, certain period. Because if something major happens, ano po, kumbaga nag-expand ang planta to produce way more, nag-shut down ang planta due to poor business, then dun magbabago yung fixed cost natin. Okay? So yung fixed cost, they are costs that stay constant in the short term no matter how much we produce, and nagbabago siya in the long run if operations change drastically. Now, what about variable cost? So when we say variable cost, from the name itself, variable, vary, they are expenses that change in total depending on how much we produce or how much we sell. Ano po? So, it varies with respect to the production. Okay? Unlike fixed cost, itong cost na to, this variable cost, it rise when production increases and it fall when production decreases. Tumataas kapag malakas ang production, babagsak kapag humina ang production. Kasi nga, yung total variable cost natin varies with respect to the output. Okay? So, yung cost natin na yan, nagva-vary siya with respect to the output. Okay? Nagva-vary with respect to the output. But note that the cost per unit, yung cost per unit is constant. Okay? The cost per unit usually stays the same. So, kumbaga, kung tayo ay nagbe-bake ng tinapay and the flour cost is 20 pesos, ano po, kumbaga, nag-bake tayo ng isang loaf, ano po, and it cost 20 pesos of harina flour. Ibig sabihin, kung tayo ay magbe-bake ng 100 loaves, 100 times 20 pesos of flour is 2,000 flour. 2,000 pesos of flour. So, yun yung magagastos natin for the 100 loaves. Ibig sabihin, regardless kung marami yung ating binake, still yung pinaka original value natin is 20. Ano po? So, nakadepende siya on the tawag dito, on how much we bake. Ano po, on how many loaves we bake. Okay? So, kumbaga, pagdating naman sa sahod, if workers are paid per unit or per hour, tied to output, yung labor cost, nag-grow siya with production. Okay? Kasi kung malakas ang production, technically, mag-o-overtime tayo to meet the demand. Ano po, and then tataas din yung cost natin sa labor kasi nga nag-e-extend ng hours yung mga empleyado natin to meet the demand. Okay? So, pagdating naman sa mga packaging, for example, 'di ba? Kung gaano karami yung na bumili sa atin sa Shopee, sa TikTok, 'di ba? Ibig sabihin, ganun din karami yung mga boxes na gagamitin natin, yung labels na gagamitin natin, and also the delivery cost. Okay? So, yun yung variable cost. Okay? So, kumbaga nga dito sa ating example, kung ang isang bakery, sa paggawa niya ng isang cake, nagkakahalagay ng 840 because 280 for raw materials, 560 for the direct labor, ibig sabihin, sa pagdami ng cake na ginagawa nila, sa pagtaas din ng variable cost. Opo. But the original cost is just that one. Ano po, kasi hindi naman porke lumaki yung or dumami yung ibe-bake mo, lumalaki din yung cost per unit kasi ito yung cost natin per unit. Ano po, kumbaga, nagto-twice, thrice, 'di ba? 7 times lang siya nung original value. Okay? Hindi siya nagiging, kumbaga, this one, hindi siya naging 570 pesos. Na kumbaga, kung i-divide mo siya by 2, that's 285. Ano po, hindi. Ito pa din siya. Okay? The price is originally 280. Nag-twice nga lang. Ano po? Kumbaga, hindi na bago yung cost per unit. Pero yung variable cost, tumaas. Okay? So, yun lang naman yung tinutukoy sa variable cost. It goes up or down depending on the production volume, while the cost per unit usually remains constant. Okay? How about incremental cost? Okay. Yung incremental cost naman or revenue na tinatawag is the extra cost. Okay. Extra cost, added cost. Okay. Na you get when you produce or do one more unit of something. Ano po? So, kaya nga po, you will think of it as the added cost of your next step. Okay? Kumbaga, for example, ikaw ay may sasakyan. Okay, may sasakyan ka po. Yung pupuntahan mo is 5 kilometers or sabihin natin 20 kilometers. Ang lapit pa rin kasi ng 20 kilometers, ano po, from your home. Okay? Kaso may kailangan kang daanan pala. Okay, so nadagdag yung kilometer na pupuntahan mo. Ano ibig sabihin nun? Yung konsumo ng gas mo na para dun sa 20 kilometers lang dapat, nadagdagan siya ng additional gas consumption kasi may additional kilometer ka pa na pinuntahan. Ano po, so kumbaga dun sa 20 kilometers na yon dapat ang magagastos mo lang sabihin nating 60 pesos per liter, 1 kilometer, 1 liter. Sabihin natin, hindi naman gano'n kaano ang pagdating sa sasakyan. Sabihin lang natin, ano, example lang. So, gagastos ka ng 1,2 for example, dun sa 20 kilometers na yon. Eh, ang tinakbo mo may additional na 2 kilometers. Ibig sabihin, yung 120 pesos na yon, na dagdag dun sa gas consumption, yun yung incremental cost. Ano po, kasi yun yung added cost dun sa 1,200 lang dapat na magiging gas consumption mo. Okay, diesel consumption. Okay? So that's incremental. And if you will look at the example, ano po, dito natin, puntahan natin dito. If you will look at this example, okay, si company nagkaroon siya ng increase in production from 10,000 to 12,000. So meaning there's an increase of 2,000 units sa production. Okay? And then kung makikita nyo, yung cost niya per unit is $30 and amounting to a total of $300,000 kasi nga 10,000 units times 30, 300,000. Now, if you will to produce 12,000 units, it will become 27.50. Multiplying that by 12,000, as you can see, there's an increase in your total cost of how much? $30,000. And that $30,000, yan yung tinatawag natin na incremental cost. Wherein, kung i-check nyo, ay ang baba naman nung ano, ang baba niya sa cost per unit. But technically, you have an incremental cost per unit of $15 because if you're going to divide this by that 2,000, that's 15. Ano po? Kasi ang nangyari po dyan, ano ba nangyari dyan? Ang nangyari dyan, yung per unit incremental cost, okay, as you can see, it goes down, mababa siya with higher production because yung fixed cost, hindi siya nag-i-increase at the same rate na pag-increase ng output natin. Ano po? So, ibig sabihin, itong incremental cost na ito, makakatulong siya kay company to tell how much yung extra money na kakailanganin nila to produce more units. Okay? So, yung ating incremental cost, that is extra cost, additional cost, added cost. Okay? So, instead of just uh, I mean, instead of having this cost of $300,000, naging $330,000, yung $30,000 na yun na yung incremental cost mo. So there is an increase of $30,000. There is this added cost because you increase your production. Ano po? Because you add something on what you do. Ano po? On what you produce. Okay? Next. Direct cost, indirect cost. So ano naman yung direct and indirect na tinatawag natin? Yung direct cost, yun yung mga cost na pwede nyong directly, clearly connected to a specific product, service, or activity. Okay? And dun papasok yung mga materials like woods for furniture, fabrics, yung mga tela para sa paggawa ng damit, yung mga metals para gumawa ng gunting, etc. Yung direct labor, yung kumbaga yung sahod ng mga workers in assembling the product, that is direct cost. Ano po, specifically, you can point to the product or activity and say na yung cost na yun belongs to that product and activity. Ano po? So, yun po yung ibig sabihin ng direct cost. You can directly connect, link the cost to that specific product or services. While indirect cost, you cannot be easily or directly trace that cost to that specific product or service. Kumbaga, they benefit multiple projects or activities. So, they must be allocated using formulas or percentages. Okay? Kumbaga, yung cost of maintaining the factory equipment, nagbe-benefit yun sa lahat ng production lines. Pag sinabi natin general supplies, ibig sabihin, it includes glue, cleaning materials, small tools, ball pens, papers, etc. So, they are indirect costs. Kumbaga, paano natin i-allocate siya? We often spread those costs across products based on the labor hours work, the material cost, the machine hours. Okay? And overhead cost, that's a type of indirect cost. Okay? Where all indirect costs required to run the facility and keep production going is overhead cost. So lahat ng indirect cost na ginagamit natin para mapatakbo ang isang kumpanya, mapatuloy yung production ng products and services is this overhead. And ano yung included doon? Factory rent, sahod ng mga empleyado, electricity for lighting and machines, etc. Na dito, yung overhead cost is equal to the indirect cost, kasi nga type naman siya ng indirect cost, is equal to burden. Pag pala sinabi nating burden, that's overhead, that's indirect cost. Because these terms are being used interchangeably. Okay? In business, sa business, yung overhead, ina-add yan sa direct cost to come up with the total cost per unit. And from this, dun kasi tayo makakakuha ng selling retail price natin. Okay? So sa business, ginagamit yung overhead, to be added to the direct cost para ma-determine yung total cost per unit to help set the SRP. Okay? So direct costs can easily be traced. Indirect cost or overhead cost are shared cost. Okay? How about standard cost? Nasusundan ka po? Hindi naman po mabilis. Kapag po mabilis, sabihan nyo ang ma'am ha. Okay. So again, yung direct cost, yun yung pwede nating matrace agad kung anong cost ba to. Ang indirect cost, hindi, kasi they are shared cost. Kumbaga, pinaghahatian sila ng lahat ng cost. Okay? Next is standard cost. Yung standard cost naman, these are predetermined cost per unit of output, planned cost. Kumbaga, nakaset na yun yung cost per unit of that output. It is being established na before pa mag-start yung productions. And they are based on the expected labor time and rates of doing that product, expected material usage and cost of that product, and the expected overhead allocation of that product. So nakuha na siya, kumbaga inestimate na by those factors yung standard cost. Ano po? Planned cost, standard cost, predetermined cost. Bakit siya mahalaga? Okay? Mahalaga yung ating standard cost kasi yun yung makakatulong sa atin to plan, control, and evaluate the performance. How? For example po, for example, the standard cost for us to make one chair is $50. But actually, it turns out to be $60. So meaning, kung yung estimated natin to produce one chair is $50, but it turns out to be $60, saan nanggaling yung $10? And that's the time for us to investigate where that excess spending came from. Kaya nga sabi ko sa inyo, makakatulong yung standard cost for us to plan, control, and evaluate performance. Okay? Plan, control, evaluate. Okay? Na baka it is due to labor inefficiency or material waste. Doon ang galing yung excess na $10. Kasi based on estimates, expected labor, material, overhead cost, $50 lang siya. Pero naging $60. Okay? So doon natin makikita, 'di ba, na baka there are some problems na with regards to the production. Okay? So yung gamit ng ating standard cost is in estimating the future cost. So mahalaga nga siya for budgeting and planning. Measuring performance. So based on our example, 'di ba? Mako-compare natin yung actual cost dun sa planned cost natin. Okay? So there is this variance analysis. Then preparing for customer bids. So makakasigurado tayo na competitive yung price natin while still covering the cost and valuing inventory. So it will gives a consistent method para makapag-assign tayo ng cost dun sa mga unfinished and finished goods. Okay? So again, standard cost, yan ay planned, estimated cost na ginagamit for planning, controlling, and evaluating. Okay po. Next, cash cost, book cost. So ano naman yung difference nung dalawa? Pag po kasi sinabi nating cash cost, yan yung actual payments of money na kailangan natin to carry out an activity or project. Meaning, that's outflow, cash outflow kung titingnan. Ano po? Kasi yun yung actual payment na kailangan natin to carry out an activity or project. And this directly affect yung cash flow ng isang business. Ano po yung examples dito? Pagbabayad siyempre nung sahod, pagpapasahod sa mga workers, pagbili ng mga raw materials, pagbayad ng utility bills, pagbabayad ng renta ng building. They are the actual payments to carry out those activities. 'Di ba? So, yung cash cost, yan yung nagre-represent ng money leaving the company. Kaya nga, cash outflow. And therefore, they are important when it comes to the engineering economic analysis. Okay, kasi nga po diyan na papasok yung cash flow. So maa-analyze niyo na whether you are losing money, ano ba, naglo-lose ka ba ng money, kumikita ka ba, or break even? Ano po? How about book cost? Yung book cost is non-cash cost. Okay? Where ito yung mga cost being recorded in the accounting system that do not involve any actual cash transaction at that time they are incurred. Ano pong ibig sabihin nun? Kumbaga, they represent the allocation of the past expenditures across multiple time periods. Okay? So, kumbaga, for example, para mas madali nating maintindihan, if a company buys equipment for $100,000, it does not record the entire $100,000 as a cost sa loob ng isang taon. Instead, it is being spread out, let's say, $20,000 for 5 years. So, kumbaga, hinati natin into 5 yung $100,000. Di natin siya pinakita for a single year. Instead, hinati-hati natin siya into $20,000 for 5 years. So, yung $20 na yon, depreciation expense is a book cost. Kasi nga, no cash actually leaves the company each year. It was already paid when the equipment was purchased. Binili natin siya for the year 2025. Ano po? Binili natin siya in the year 2025. Okay. So kumbaga hindi na siya magre-reflect to the following year 2026, 2027, 2028, etc. Okay? So that is book cost. Okay? So kumbaga depreciation, yung example nito. That depreciation of $20,000, hindi talaga siya actually nagre-reflect kay 2026, 2027 kasi ginastos mo na siya ng 2025. Kumbaga, ganun yung ating book cost. Okay? So, mahalaga siya in terms of econ. Ano po, kasi nga naka-focus tayo dito sa cash flow. Madedetermine natin the actual ability of a project or company to generate or pay out money. Okay? And then yung book cost like depreciation, so depreciation, they are mainly important for accounting, taxation, financial reporting, but they don't affect the real-time decision about cash availability. Okay? So that is the cash cost and the book cost. So yung cash cost, again, that's the real money going out now or in the future. And then yung book cost, that's the accounting allocation of the past expenditure. Okay? Next, sunk cost. So ano naman yung sunk cost na tinatawag? Yung sunk cost naman po, edi yung money you've already spent in the past na hindi mo na pwedeng ma-recover, syempre. So, no matter what decision is made in the future, hindi na siya pwedeng makaapekto pa. Okay? So, since nga, sunk costs don't change based on future actions, it should be ignored in evaluating alternatives. So, hindi mo na siya pwedeng maging kumbaga hindi na siya pwedeng makaapekto pa sa paggawa mo ng economic decision. Because nga, the key characteristic of sunk cost is that it is irretrievable. Hindi mo na siya pwedeng ma-recover. Ano, hindi mo na siya pwedeng maibalik pa. Ano po. So you cannot get the money back. And it is independent of future choices. Okay? Whether you continue, you stop, or change your plan, the sunk cost will stay the same. Hindi na siya pwedeng makaapekto sa future choices mo. It is independent of your future choices. And it is emotionally tricky. I don't know if you've encountered this kind of feeling. Ano po. But itong sinasabi lang dito na yung sunk cost is emotionally tricky. Kasi, yun nga, sabi ko, hindi ko alam kung na-experience nyo na. Okay? Kasi at some point of time, ito yung feeling na kumbaga bumili ka ng iPhone 17 Pro Max, fully paid. Ayan, fully paid na eh. Okay? Eh, gaano kamahal ang iPhone? Okay? After buying, you have this feeling of justifying what you've already spent. Okay? So, yun yung sinasabi dito na yung sunk cost ay emotionally tricky. Ano, kumain ka ng sandamakmak na samgyup, ayan, nagkayayaan. Gumastos ka ng magkano. And then at the end of the day, tama bang napagastos ako ng ganito? Parang may babayaran pa ako sa isang araw na ganito, ganyan. Now, you have this feeling of justifying, hindi okay lang yun, at least busog. 'Di ba? So that is the meaning of sunk cost being emotionally tricky. Okay? So, kailangan mong i-justify yung ginastos mo. Okay? And we have this example, si Joe bumili kasi siya, I mean nakakita siya ng motorcycle, ng motor, na gusto niya. And then he pays $40 as a down payment, which will be applied to the $1,300 purchase price, but which must be forfeited if he decides not to take the cycle. And then over the weekend, nakakita siya ng isa pang motor. And then he considers equally desirable for a purchase price of $1,230. And then for the purpose daw of deciding aling motor yung ipapurchase niya, siyempre yung $40 na i-down payment niya dun sa una is already a sunk cost. Okay? Hindi niya na yun mag-retrieve pa, marirecover pa. And thus, it would not enter into his decision, except that it lowers the remaining cost of the first cycles. Meaning, kumbaga, ah, ang naging basis niya, kasi sabi, except that it lowers. Kasi nga, nagbayad na siya ng 40, kumbaga sa isip niya, 1,260 na lang yung motor. And then 1,230 yung isa. Kumbaga, isip niya ay $30 na lang yung difference ng dalawang motor. Ano po? So, yun yung pino-point out dito na dapat hindi maging basis yung sunk cost kasi nagastos na siya, naibayad na siya. Ano po, yung $40 na yon is gone forever if he walks away and choose that second motorcycle. Okay po. So, kumbaga, even though Joe might feel bad about losing the $40, it's already sunk cost. And so, it should not bias the decision na gagawin niya. Okay? So, yun lang naman yung tinutukoy dito sa ating sunk cost. So, bakit sunk cost should be ignored? Okay? For you to have a better decision. Kasi nga, including sunk cost can lead to a poor decision. Okay? And then, ayun, sunk cost. Ayan. So, nawala yung isa pang example ng ma'am eh. So, hayaan na natin. Okay, malinaw naman na siguro sa inyo kung ano yung sunk cost na tinutukoy natin dito. Again, past unrecoverable expense ang sunk cost. It does not matter for future decisions. It focus only on future costs and revenues that differ between alternatives. Emotionally hard but logically necessary siya to ignore sunk cost. Okay? How about opportunity cost? Okay. Ano ba yung opportunity cost na tinatawag natin? That is the value of the best alternative you give up when making a decision. So, yun yung value nung best option na binitawan mo when you make the decision. When you made the decision. Okay? And it arises because resources probably are limited. So baka naman nga kaya hindi mo siya napili because of limited time, money, labor, equipment, land, etc. And even if you don't explicitly spend money, yung opportunity cost na yun still exists because choosing one option excludes you from the benefits of another. Ano po? So that's opportunity cost. Even if you don't explicitly spend money, that opportunity cost still exists. Kasi kumbaga, yan yung panghihinayangan mo. Ano po? Kasi hindi yan yung pinili mo. Nasana yan yung value nung most beneficial option na meron ka. But again, because nga due to limited money, resources, nabaliwala yung best option na yun. Ano po? So, the key characteristic of this opportunity cost is hidden but real. Okay? So, it's often not recorded in financial statements pero nakakaapekto siya sa quality of decision. It's forward-looking, meaning unlike sunk cost, yung opportunity cost, it is all about the future benefits that you miss when choosing one option. And then it is based on trade-offs. So ano ibig sabihin yan? Na every choice has a trade-off and you can't have it all at the same time. Every choice may trade-off pero hindi lahat ng yon pwedeng gawin or makuha mo at the same time. Okay? So, kumbaga, for example, a student has two choices: to work and earn 20,000 pesos, then to study and pay 5,000 in school expenses and not earn 20,000 pesos. So the opportunity cost of schooling is 5,000 pesos plus the 20,000 pesos of that foregone income, which amounts to 25,000 pesos. So, ibig sabihin, that's the real cost, that 25,000 pesos is the real cost of education for the year, not just the tuition fee. So, ibig sabihin, hindi lang pala yung 5,000. Pag pinili kong mag-aral, pag pinili kong mag-aral kaysa magtrabaho na kumita ng 20,000 pesos, still, yung opportunity cost ko of pagpasok is 25,000 pesos. Hindi lang yung 5,000 pesos na tuition ko. Ano po? So, yun yung opportunity cost na tinatawag. Okay? So, kumbaga yung opportunity cost, kung titingnan natin, kung titingnan natin, makakatulong siya sa ating mag-compare ng alternatives fairly by considering hindi lang yung cash flow, but also what's being sacrificed. Ano po? So yung sinakripisyo natin doon, syempre yung 20,000 pesos na sana kikitain natin pero ipinasok na lang natin. And encourages us to efficiently use the resources. Okay? And to prevent us from underestimating cost. Okay? So thinking nga na yung tuition is only 5,000 pesos when the true cost is 25,000 pesos with that loss of income sana. Ano po? So, yun nga, yung opportunity cost, edi yun yung value ng next best alternative na ginive up natin when making a choice. And importante siya in evaluating the alternatives kasi ignoring it can lead us to underestimating the real cost of our decision. Ano po? So para hindi natin ma-underestimate yung decision, yung real cost sana ng decision natin. How about life cycle cost, the LCC? Okay? Yung life cycle cost, that is the total cost of owning, operating, maintaining, disposing an asset over its entire useful life. So, kumbaga, it's a comprehensive approach to cost analysis kasi it considers hindi lang yung initial price niya but all future cost until yung product or system natin ay mag-retire na, i-dispose na. Ano po? So ginagamit natin yung LCC to make better long-term decision rather than mag-focus lang tayo sa short-term cost niya. Ano po? And then these three are the major components of the LCC. Where the investment cost, that's the initial cost. Ano po? Yan yung cost incurred para ma-acquire natin or ma-build natin ang isang product, system, or facility. So that includes the purchase price ng equipment, design engineering cost, dyan din papasok, construction cost, installation cost, transportation cost, lahat yan initial cost para magawa mong isang product, system, or facility. So, kumbaga, the investment cost is an upfront cost before the system starts operating. And then operation O&M cost, that's the cost associated with using and keeping the asset functional over its lifetime. So, dyan papasok syempre yung energy, fuel consumption, labor cost para mag-operate, spare parts, consumables, repairs para sa maintenance, PMS, the Preventive Maintenance Service. So, dyan siya lahat papasok. Where it covers the largest part ng ating life cycle cost. Especially for long-lived assets like buildings, machines, infrastructure, etc. Blah, blah, blah. Ayan. How about disposal cost or the end of life cost? E di yan yung cost incurred kapag yung asset natin has reached the end of its useful life and kailangan na nating i-decommission or i-replace. Ano po, syempre dyan papasok yung mga dismantling cost, demolition cost for the building, waste treatment cost, environmental compliance cost, the salvage value, and this cost are often overlooked. Pero kung titingnan po, importante sila in sustainable design and environmental impact assessment. So, dun siya papasok. Kapag ang study nyo is all about environmental impact assessment, sustainable design assessment, kailangan nyo ng disposal cost. Opo. Kinukuha po talaga yan. It should be considered. Okay? Environmental, lalo na sa environmental impact. Okay? Kailangan pa rin i-consider the disposal cost. Ano po? Ayan. So, bakit nga ba mahalaga yung LCC? Kasi dito, maiiwasan natin yung mga misleading decisions. Mai-encourage tayo for sustainable investment. Makakatulong siya sa atin to budget wisely. And then, makakatulong siya sa atin for trade-off analysis. Kumbaga, for example, spending more initially on energy efficient equipment can reduce our O&M cost significantly. Ano po, kung tayo ay bibili ng mga energy efficient equipment, okay, yung may mataas na ERR, ano po, or EER, ayan. So makakatulong siya sa atin, syempre, na mabawasan yung operation and maintenance cost. Okay? So that's life cycle cost. So kumbaga, the life cycle costing looks, 'di ba, at the big picture of cost. Investment plus O&M plus disposal. Okay? So dito makakasigurado tayo na kapag gagawa tayo ng decision, 'di ba, it is smarter for long term and more sustainable. Ano po? Next, general economic environment. So this is dito naman papasok yung mga consumer, producer, supply, demand. Ayan, yun yung pag-uusapan naman natin dito. So nasusundan pa naman ang ma'am, nakakasunod pa naman po ang everyone. Naku, parang tulog na eh. Ay, ilan lang ang nag-react. Okay? So, consumer, goods, and services. So ano ba yung tinatawag natin na yan? Those are goods and services that people directly use to satisfy their wants and needs. Okay, so for example, ng goods, yung mga food, clothing, homes, cars, TVs, etc. Services, dyan papasok yung haircuts, medical treatment, entertainment. Okay, and dito po yung demand for consumer goods nakadepende on people's changing preferences and lifestyle. So kumbaga po gusto ng taong kumain ano po ng masustansyang pagkain, syempre yung producer mag-a-adjust siya to supply more healthy food. Ano po? So yun yung ibig sabihin diyan. And then producer goods and services. These are goods and services that are not directly consumed by people but are used para makagawa ng other goods and services. For example, mga machine tools, factory buildings, buses for transportation, for machinery, etc. Wherein yung demand naman ng producer goods is indirect and it depends on the demand for consumer goods. Nakadepende sila sa demand ng consumer goods. Ano po? For example, if the demand for bread increases, which is a consumer goods, meaning more bakery ovens and flour mills will be needed. Kung tumaas ang demand ng tinapay, syempre kailangan natin ng mas madaming oven, mas madaming factory ng harina, gumagawa ng harina para makapag-produce tayo ng maraming tinapay. Ano po, yun lang naman yung ibig sabihin dyan. So the relationship between the two, that the consumer demand, it drives the need for producer goods. However, the timing may not match perfectly because sometimes yung producer goods are built ahead of time and other times naman they lag behind consumer demand. So hindi lang pala sa circuits pinag-uusapan ang leading and lagging. Ano, hindi lang pala pinag-uusapan dito current leads voltage, current lags voltage. But here, pinag-uusapan din na at some point of time, the demand for producer good is derived from consumers' demand but may lead or lag in timing. Okay, yung demand nauuna sa yung demand ng producer nauuna sa consumer demand, nahuhuli sa consumer demand. Ano po? So dito again sinasabi lang natin na yung consumer goods or services directly satisfies the people's wants, and then the producer goods or services help to produce consumer goods or other producer goods. Okay? Next po, price of goods and services. And price, alam naman natin ano yung price, presyo. Ano yung presyo? That amount of money na binibigay natin to the seller in exchange for the good or service na binili and pinagawa natin. And that is in monetary form. Price is the monetary measure of value. Kumbaga, it acts din, it acts as a signal. Signal for what? Signal sa market. Kasi po, when the prices increase, so ibig sabihin, it usually signals scarcity or higher demand. And then when the price fall, it signals abundance. So there's a surplus. May excess. Ibig sabihin, lower naman yung demand. So kumbaga, yung prices are influenced by both demand and supply. So kumbaga, a loaf of bread costs $2. And that $2 is the price that the consumer pays para mabili yung loaf na yon. Okay po. Demand. Demand is the consumer's desire and ability to purchase a good or service at a given price. And we have law of demand na sinasabi as the price of a good decreases, yung quantity of demand increases, and vice versa, provided that other factors remain constant. So, as the price of the good decreases, yung presyo ng goods bumababa, nag-i-increase yung quantity of demand. And kapag tumataas yung price of goods or services, the quantity demanded decreases. So yung demand is being influenced by several factors such as income, preferences, population size, and yung mga prices ng substitutes or complementary goods. Kumbaga, for example, if the price of movie ticket drops from 250 to 200, ibig sabihin maraming tao yung maiingling manood ng movie. Tama naman yun. 'Di ba? Kasi kung bababaan natin yung presyo ng movie ticket, maraming manonood ng movie. Okay? Supply, the total amount of a good or service that producers are willing and able to provide to the market at a given price. Okay? So, ibig sabihin, dito, as the price of a good increases, producers are generally to supply more of it. And vice versa. So, ibig sabihin, as the price of the good decreases, the producers are or will produce less of the supply. Ano po? So, yung supply, it is being influenced then by a lot of factors such as production cost, technology, number of sellers, government policies, etc. Okay? So, kumbaga, tumaas ang presyo ng mais. Technically, the farmers may plant more corn to increase the supply. Okay? So, that's the law of supply. Okay? So, yung presyo, it acts as the balancing mechanism between the demand and the supply. And if the demand is greater or more than the supply, price rises. But if the demand is, or I mean, the supply is greater than the demand, technically, yung presyo bababa. And there is this point where the demand and supply is equal to one another. And if that happens, ito yung tinatawag natin na equilibrium price. So, at that time, kung saan equal ang demand and supply, equal din yung presyo. Equilibrium. Ano po? Okay? So, next. So, there is an equilibrium price if the demand and the supply is equal to one another. So, this is just what I've told you. Skip ko na yan, the law of supply and demand. And then, ito yan, this point, ayan, yung star. That point kung saan nag-meet, ano po, yung demand and supply, that is where the demand and supply are equal. And then yan yung time na yung market natin is in equilibrium state. Ano po? Equal kasi ang demand and supply, edi wala tayong problema pagdating sa presyo. Market equilibrium. Ano po? So at equilibrium, again, the quantity demanded by consumer is equal to the quantity supplied by producers. So there is no surplus or shortage. Walang excess supply, walang excess demand. Okay? Next po. Ayan. So malapit na tayong matapos. Law of diminishing returns. When you say law of diminishing returns or diminishing marginal returns, it means that, kumbaga, ito yung nagde-describe how the output responds when you keep increasing one input while keeping others' inputs fixed. Ay, medyo magulo. So, ano daw pong ibig sabihin nun nga, ma'am? At first, ano po, when you add more of a variable input, like nagdagdag tayo ng trabahador, production increases at higher rate. Siyempre kasi nagdagdag tayo ng tao, dumag tumaas yung production, marami yung nagagawa, mabilis yung paggawa. Ano po? Because the resources are used more efficiently. However, after reaching an optimal level of capacity utilization, adding more of the same input produces smaller and smaller increases sa output. Eventually, yung output natin may even decline if too much of the input is added. So sa madalit salita din po, more is better up to a point, but after that, more is worst or worse. Walang T. E. Ayan. So, more is better up to a point, but after that, more is worse. Ano po? So, ibig sabihin, pag daw ikay nagmahal, ano, eh di anong gagawin? Nawala ang mom, anong gagawin? So, ibig sabihin, eh di kung magmamahal ka, dapat alam mo kung hanggang saan ka lang magmamahal. Ano nga po. Kasi if you keep on giving more and more, ano po, oh, hindi na, 'di ba? Minsan take for granted na. Ano po, kasi mahal ako nito, sobrang mahal ako nito. Okay lang dito na ano, na mag-cheat ako, ayan. Kasi mahal ako nito, hindi niyan iisipin na mag-cheat ako. Ayan. Kasi the more you give trust, 'di ba? Di pinagkakatiwalaan kita, the more nasisirain yung trust. Ano, ayan. Kaya sinasabi, the more is worse. Okay? So, yon. Talaga inirelate pa nga ni ma'am sa ano, ano, sa relationship. Ayan. Okay. So, ayun lang. Yun yung tinutukoy dito sa law of diminishing returns. So it just explains why unlimited input does not equal to unlimited output. Yun nga, kung sobra-sobra kang magmamahal, hindi siya equal dun sa ibinibigay or nakukuha mo. Ano, hindi equal yung binibigay mo sa nare-receive mo. Oh. So there exists again this optimal point of resource utilization. And beyond that point, each additional unit of input adds less benefit and may even harm the efficiency. Okay? Next, we have the market structure. Okay? So, sa market structure, ano ba yung market structure na tinatawag natin? So, it refers lang to the organizational and competitive characteristic ng market in which businesses operate. Kung saan naaapektuhan siya ng of how competitive the market is, how much control companies have over prices, how easy it is for a new company to enter the market, how easy it is for the new firms to enter the market, and how much product differentiation exists, how differentiated each company's product are, and also how businesses compete with one another. So, kumbaga, yung market structure, yun yung nagseset ng rules of the game for the buyers and sellers. Okay? So we have four main types of market structure: perfect competition, monopolistic competition, oligopoly, and then monopoly. So perfect competition, monopolistic competition, oligopoly, and monopoly. Okay? So di-discuss natin siya isa-isa later. So dito again sinasabi lang that the more competitive the market structure is, the more consumer friendly the prices and choices. Ano po? The more competitors in a market, the more likely it is for the prices to stay fair and competitive. And in less competitive structures, businesses gain more control, but this may result in higher prices unless regulations prevent the abuse of the rising or increasing the prices. Okay? So, kumbaga, again, yung market structure, it defines how businesses compete, set prices, and serve consumers. So, kailangan intindihin natin these structures. Ano po, kasi makakatulong siya sa atin to predict the behavior, regulate markets, and para makasigurado that there is fairness pagdating sa competition. So, what's perfect competition? So, perfect competition, it is a market structure kung saan maraming buyer and seller that trades a homogeneous product, meaning identical product in terms of quality, features, and utility. And then no single buyer or seller has the ability to influence the market price. Kung saan yung prices are determined entirely dun sa supply and demand. Ano po? So again, sa perfect competition, there is a large number of buyers and sellers. May homogeneous product. So all firms are selling identical goods with no differentiation, free to enter and exit the market. So there are no barriers for new firms para pumasok and umalis ng market. And then ayun yung meron tayo kay perfect competition. Okay, maraming buyer, maraming seller, okay? Iisa lang yung product na ibinebenta. No product differentiation. Okay? So, ito yung tinatawag natin ng mga highly competitive market. Okay? Next po, we have the monopoly. Okay? When we say monopoly, it is a kind of market structure kung saan there is a single firm where that single firm is the sole producer and seller of a product or service that has no close substitute. So, ibig sabihin, wala siyang direct competitor. At dahil dyan, siya yung may kapangyarihan over price, over supply, over market condition. So again, for monopoly, meron lang tayong single seller that dominates the entire market and the company itself is the industry. The product is unique. So walang ibang substitute, close substitute for their products. That is why yung mga consumers cannot switch easily. May high barrier to entry this kind of market. Okay? So yung mga new competitors cannot enter the market due to that strong obstacle like legal protection, control over scarce resources, government regulation, etc. And then, unlike perfect competition kung saan yung firms are price takers, a monopolist is a price maker. So siya yung nagse-set mismo ng presyo by controlling the supply. Although it must still consider consumer demand. Okay, ano po? So yun yung meron tayo dito kay monopoly. Next po, we have the monopolistic competition. Okay, kung saan sa kind of market structure in which many firms compete by selling products that are similar but no differentiation. Okay? So, kumbaga, this is the combination of perfect competition and monopoly. Maraming nagbebenta and then meron silang control over price kasi merong product differentiation. Kumbaga, yung mga seller, iba-iba sila ng quality of product na binebenta. Iba-iba sila ng, kumbaga, not unique yung product. Ano po? So, combination siya ng perfect and monopoly. Many sellers and buyers. So walang single company na nagdo-dominate sa market. May product differentiation, meaning products nga are not identical. So nag-iiba-iba sila depende sa quality, sa branding, sa style, sa packaging, etc. May freedom to enter and exit yung mga firms for this kind of market structure. And then the firms or the price makers, yun nga lang to a limited degree. Kasi nga, may product differentiation that gives them unique appeal. So, still, if yung prices are set too high, pwede kasing mag-switch to substitutes yung mga customers. Ano po? So, that is monopolistic competition. How about oligopoly? Oligopoly is that market structure in which a small number of large firms dominate the industry. So since nga kakaunti yung seller, okay, because only a few sellers control the majority ng supply, each firm's actions such as pagbabago ng presyo, pagla-launch ng bagong product, altering the market strategies directly influence the others. Okay? So, firms in an oligopoly may compete fiercely or collaborately to protect their profits. So, kumbaga, may interdependence in this kind of market structure. Okay, and that what makes oligopolies one of the most complex and strategic market structure. Okay, again, sa oligopoly, few dominant firms yung meron tayo. May interdependence of firms. So, kumbaga, the decision of one firm immediately impacts other firms. Okay? So competitors must react to maintain market share. But there is a high barrier to entry. Ano po, medyo mahirap nga lang to enter this kind of market. Okay? And that is oligopoly. Ano po? So that is oligopoly. Next, this is just the comparison table of the four main types. Okay? But proceed na tayo sa sunod. So, meron pa din kasing gantong klase ng market structure. Monopsony, duopoly, oligopsony. Where yung monopsony is a market structure kung saan there is only one buyer. Ano po, isa naman yung bumibili pero maraming seller. And in that kind of situation, yung buyer, siya yung may control over prices, over market condition. Because the sellers have no alternatives buyer to sell to. 'Di ba? Tama naman. So yung buyer yung may kapangyarihan, hindi yung mga seller kasi wala naman silang ibang pagbebentahan kundi yung buyer na yan lamang. Okay? So that's the key characteristic of monopsony. One buyer, many sellers, where the buyer dictates terms. The buyer can push prices lower since sellers compete for that single buyer demand. So there is a power imbalance kasi nga limited yung bargaining power ni seller. Okay? So yun pagdating nga lang dito sa monopsony, edi yung buyer benefits from lower cost, then the seller may be underpaid or exploited, leading to reduced quality or supply. Duopoly. So duopoly, syempre, from the name itself, duo, two. Kumbaga, it is a special type of oligopoly kung saan dalawa yung firm na nagdo-dominate sa market. and their actions are highly independent, and yung competition between them can shape the entire market. Okay? So yung tatandaan natin sa duopoly, may two dominant firm. So sila yung nag-hold most of the market share. There is interdependence pa rin. Kumbaga, they are closely monitoring one another. They are reacting to others' decisions. Okay? So, they may compete aggressively since nga dalawa-dalawa sila, or they cooperate with one another. So the pros and cons of this kind of market structure is that it can lead to innovation as firms compete, and it has a risk of collusion due to higher prices for consumers. And lastly, we have the oligopsony, where that kind of market structure, meron siyang maraming sellers but only a few buyers. Where yung mga buyers na yon, they hold significant power and influence over the market. And that is similar to a monopsony. Yun nga lang sa monopsony, with a smaller group of buyer, I mean dito sa oligopsony, smaller group of buyers, sa monopsony, iisa talaga yung buyer. Okay? So again, few buyers, many sellers. Where the buyers may push purchase prices lower and then squeezing out the seller's profit. Okay? So dito, it is common in agriculture, okay, where there is a few big companies that buy from many small farmers or producers. Okay? So nagiging pros and cons dito, syempre, yung buyers get better deals due to bargaining power. Yun nga lang, yung mga sellers may suffer from low earnings, mababa lang yung kita, making the market unfair. Okay? So, monopsony, may one buyer dominating many sellers. Duopoly, two sellers dominating the market. Oligopsony has few buyers dominating many sellers. Okay? And then, here is just the summary of the part 2 ng module 1, and then the references of our module. Okay po. So may naintindihan naman po sa diniscuss ng ma'am. Okay po. Ay parang si ano lang ang nakaintindi. Parang iilan. Okay. So that is the introduction to engineering economy. So next week, we will have our F2F on Monday. So, ibig sabihin on Monday, new topic tayo. So, bring calculators. Ano po, kasi may mga ikakalcule na tayo as we will be discussing time value of money. So, we'll be discussing na yung mga present worth, future worth, interest, etc. Blah, blah, blah. Okay po. So, any concerns, questions pagdating sa ating na-discuss for today? May mga tanong po ba? Wala naman pong tanong, wala daw. Ayan. Okay, so hanggang dito lang po tayo. Maraming salamat sa inyong oras. Ano po, kasi di naman talaga natin to oras. So maraming salamat sa inyong oras. At ayun, see you po on Monday. Thank you po everyone. Salamat.